Hello, so I will be the second affirmative for the day today, and I'm here to resubstantiate the fact that our significance claim, the federal minimum wage is too low, and there are many people living currently that are living in poor conditions due to these the minimum wage. Our inherency, it is again too low to support these living conditions, and our solvency, we should increase it. So to start off with a couple of indiscrepancies from our opponents, they said that according to 1938 25 cents minimum wage, that would equate to $4 today's wages. That is what she said. She essentially substantiated our point that in terms of real living wages, it is too low to support today's current poverty standards. And another thing, she mentioned that it prevents racism for being racist, paying colored workers lower pay. We're not abolishing it. We just want to raise it. So in terms of that issue, it would still prevent doing that because we're not abolishing it. We just want to raise it. And another thing, moving on to our significance claims, one thing that the opponent mentions is that teens and adults, minimum wage is meant to be a starting position wage. However, I would like to say that the number of teens earning minimum wage is roughly the same as the number of adults. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in a report in 2016, although workers under age 25 represent only about 1/5 of hourly paid workers, they make about half of those paid on the federal minimum wage or less. So there's about people from age 25 and up and 25 under, they're both about 50-50 of those earning the federal minimum wage. So even though the minimum wage is meant to be a starting position a wage, there's about 50% of the people who are earning it have to live off of that wage. They are 25 and older. And another point of significance, she mentioned, as I stated earlier, the inflation. Since it was last raised in 2009, the federal minimum wage has lost about 9.6% of its purchasing power due to inflation. So not even in terms of inflation from 1938, from when the last time we raised it in 2009, it has already lost about 10% of its purchasing power. So those who are still earning it today are earning the same thing from about 9 years ago, which shouldn't be happening. We should be raising it to account for inflation, as my opponent stated, so she kind of further proves our point. And another point of significance, she mentioned families. According to the Economic Policy Institute, in 2017, nearly 2/3 of the people who earn the federal minimum wage work full-time, so they have to live off of it. 28% of these people have children. So she mentioned that people who earn the minimum wage, very few of them have children, but 28% of them do. And furthermore, from the Economic Policy Institute, a parent who works full-time year-round at the federal minimum wage does not earn enough of an income above the federal poverty line. So even these parents that have children, even if they work full-time year-round, they still are below the poverty line. So we must raise it in order to account for that. And in terms of our inherency, according to the Economic Policy Institute, of affected workers, more than a quarter have children. 20 million have children. 20 million of these people that do have children will have 20 million of these children will have at least one parent whose pay will go up if we do raise the minimum wage, because the minimum wage not only affects those who earn it, but also those who have wages near or around the minimum wage will see their pay increase as well. Because if a dishwasher, say at a restaurant, has his wage increase, the servers also need to have their wages increase in order to account for the fact that everyone's wages are being increased. So in terms of solvency, according to the American Prospect newspaper article website, in 2017, modern increases of the magnitude we've often seen in both national and subnational cases have been found to have very few of the negative impact on jobs their opponents have predicted. So there are many cases in which we have increased the minimum wage since it has been originally increased, and there has been no link to the employment percentage rate. And again, according to the Center for Economic and Policy Research, this from Goldman Sachs, a very professional bank, one of the best probably in the world. According to one of their reports, the Goldman Sachs analysis found that the states where the minimum wage went up had faster employment growth than the states where the minimum wage remained at its 2013 level. So many states, as our opponent mentioned, have increased the minimum wage of their own account, but there are still about 9 states that have not. And the states who have raised it have seen the benefits of the minimum wage increase. Their employment has increased, their GDP has increased, and overall they have benefited from the minimum wage increase that my opponent claims that will hurt businesses. Furthermore, according to the American Prospect, again, the same newspaper article in 2017, almost 30% of the workforce would be expected to benefit from the proposed raise by the time the increase was fully phased in. So as I mentioned earlier, even though only the people who have the federal minimum wage will see the increase, the people who have wages around or near it, and even people maybe with wages in the middle class will see an increase in order to account for those people at the bottom who have their wages being increased. And according to Armin Yalnizyan, while some workers may lose their job after the minimum wage increase, a very large number of workers will see an important pay hike, and that will loop back into the economy. So, as she stated, many businesses might not be able to handle the wage increase in terms of their business model, so their workers may have to be laid off, but the ones who do stay and who do continue to have their jobs will be earning higher wages, and they will in turn be more likely to spend those wages. It'll go back into the economy, will increase production as the demand for goods increases, and overall our economy can benefit. So we can afford to raise the minimum wage, as my partner stated earlier, with government and spending and whatnot, and we should raise it as it will benefit many people.